Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Good morning.
Hey, James. Good morning. How's it going?
It's doing good.
Do you know I am extra excited about today's guest?
Yeah?
And it holds a very special place in my heart because not only is he from the trades, he is a painter entrepreneur.
Oh, yes.
Which you know well.
It's a familiar story.
It's where I started. And I got to tell you, that point in my life, working like that, being a painter, and I had a couple of guys working for me, this was one of the most peaceful, happiest times of my life. Maybe it was just because I had a bunch of small kids at home and I could just be out. I'm not sure. But that was a really good time in my life. Why don't you bring him on, introduce him, and let's...
Well, I'm excited to introduce, we have met Nick for a little while, but this is Nick Brandt with Stoey Painting. Nick, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
Say hi to our millions of fans.
Hello, everybody.
So, Nick, you are the founder and the owner of Stoey Painting here in the Central Florida area, right?
Yes, I am.
And you've been in business for a little while.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, there's an interesting story of your name that I want to make sure we hit down the road. You can talk about it now. But I'd love for our audience to kind of get to know kind of who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up with this great business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Nick Brandt, Stoey Painting, grew up here in Orlando, Florida, and kind of just got into college and was starting that out and thinking, hey, I'm going to get involved with some sort of business somehow, some way. I'm not sure what it was at the time. And I eventually found myself kind of changing degrees and what I was going after. And I got to the point where I was just trying to just finish up school and just get out of there, get the piece of paper. And
a lot of people do that.
Yeah. It's funny how that is. But, it's towards the end of my college career, I ended up working for my godfather's company, Florida Paints, shout out to them.
And that's a local company as well, right?
Local company, the Color Wheel guys, and they went ahead and just started back up. And
now, Florida Paints is a paint supplier.
They're a supplier.
Yeah, so they don't actually put.
Yeah, they're not a
on
painting
walls.
company. They're a painting supplier.
Yeah, so they're like the other paint suppliers, but are they only in Florida?
I believe they are just in Florida.
Okay.
And so they definitely have grown and expanded. But so I started up with them. I started in the production side, mixing, making, labeling, putting, the bales on the cans, stacking them, shipping them off. And
you were just learning it from the bottom up, weren't you?
Yeah, no, it's great. And so found myself kind of working into different positions there, becoming a driver, delivering the paint to the sites for new home construction, to customers' homes, and then eventually wanted to get to the sales position. But I don't know, it got to the point where I just realized painters can be stubborn.
They can be.
And to convince them and to change them and what they're currently using is a tough task. And I just felt like, you know what, I don't know if I'm up for that challenge. And so I went ahead and switched careers. I got approached by my uncle to work for Geico as an auto damage adjuster. And I said, why not? I wasn't really set on anything. So got involved with that for 4 years and found an at-home position. And, it was one of those things where I wanted to get out and I was kind of over it. And I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy. I like, doing hard work and physical work. So it's crazy how things play out because the pandemic happened and we got furloughed in April. And so I was expecting my second child as well, due in July. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of stress with that. Sure enough, July, is here. Second child's born. At the end of the month, got laid off.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me as a father, as a husband, I'm just, what am I going to do?
Yeah, you got to provide.
Of course, sure.
Yeah.
So I was buying time. I went door to door. I wasn't going back to insurance, wasn't going back to Geico. And I said, hey, do you need your driveway, pool deck, walkways, house pressure washed? I figured it's easy. You get a machine, you get your setup. It's not much to it.
Right.
And so I just needed time. And I love fishing. So I said, why not start a fishing business, right?
Right.
And
I think that's what you were doing about the time I met you.
I think so.
Because Jenna, the girl who introduced us and is going to be on the podcast in a few weeks,
Couple weeks.
introduced you as a fishing guide.
Yep. And so it's just the passion. And I said, do what you love. And it was great. I had homeschoolers, just adults. I was teaching them how to fish, how to tie knots, and how to catch them. And I just realized it wasn't going to be sustainable. It wasn't going to provide for my family. The dream was there, but to get to that point, it would have taken a big leap of faith financially.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, okay, I need to do something else. And I had known a couple guys from Florida Paints that started their own business, and they were doing their thing. And I said, hey, if you guys need help, let me know. And I got a call back saying, yeah, we actually need help on this one commercial building. Go ahead and come on out and, we'll teach you what we know and see what you got and start working together. So we went ahead and worked together for about 6 months, had some fun times with them, learned a lot. We actually did a job over in the Bahamas, which is super cool.
Oh, that is exciting.
So
that's fun.
Loaded up the boat, we cruised over and
oh my gosh,
started painting. And
all right, pause. So you're saying that you loaded your painting supplies on a boat and then just sailed over, boated over to the Bahamas, did a painting job.
Yeah, and not only that, he's now an international painter.
Kind of a big deal.
That sounds kind of cool.
It is cool.
Did you go fishing while you're on the ocean?
We tried to do a little bit of fishing, but that's a whole nother story. It was quite the journey, but those guys, man, we powered through a lot and got it done. But they taught me a lot, and they actually live over on the west side of town, and I'm over on the east side. So the travel wasn't ideal, and they're just starting out themselves.
Sure.
And so I just thought, you know what, I feel it might be best for me to just branch out and do my own thing.
Right.
Well, that can be a scary step.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still learning, and it's having the confidence to go to a homeowner and tell them that, hey, I want to paint your house. I'm going to paint it right. And there were times where I wasn't sure how to go about certain tasks and certain situations. And so I'd either be honest and say, I'm going to find the answer, or I would figure it out by reaching out to a rep or going on YouTube or just kind of just doing some research to figure it out. And then from there, taking care of whatever it was.
So at what point did you have to come up with your name and then figure out your business model? I mean, how did that come about?
Yeah, for the name, it was funny because my wife's like, what about Stoey? Because we were just spitballing and trying to think of things. And I said, Stoey painting, because our daughter is Stella and our second is Zoe.
Okay.
And so I said, well, that kind of comes out pretty neat and off the tongue nicely, and that might work. Stoey painting. And then I was thinking more on it too, because it stands out.
Sure.
A lot of people have initials, they have their last name, expert, just different kind of typical business names. And so I just definitely wanted to stand out and be different and unique. And so I said, you know what, we're going to do it.
It's a good name, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of my friends, they have businesses, and they are Nick Brandt Painting, which is great. Because that means I know when I'm hiring Nick Brandt Painting,
I'm getting Nick.
The problem is, what do you do when it's time for you to not be Nick Brandt Painting? What if you want to retire? What if you want to sell the company? Well, I'm not going to buy your company if it's called Nick Brandt Painting.
Right.
I would buy a company that's called Stoey. I wouldn't buy a company that's called Build Them In Drywall, but I would buy a company called Hole in the Wall Drywall.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right? So it's personal. It's got a great story. It's family related, but it's still transferable. So kudos to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then recently did a logo change. And
I saw that you were showing us your cards earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, they look pretty smart.
So just trying to switch it up and stand out that much more, and wanted a slogan. So painting a better world is what we came.
Love it.
I think a lot of people are going to connect with that. Actually, I'm curious, when you kind of got rolling with your own company, how did you begin generating work?
I honestly, it was just door to door in the neighborhood, family and friends, of course. That's always the go-to when you start a business. Hey, who do you know that needs a bedroom painted? Who do you know that needs just anything? And it was more of just reaching out, putting the word out there, not being afraid to just do the door-to-door thing and say, hey, I'm a neighbor. And just if you ever need any painting services, let me know. Be happy to help out. And then some of the friends and families, members did have some referrals.
Right.
And so from there, they had their referrals. And my brother was renting out one of his homes, and his tenant actually worked for a local company that manages properties.
Right.
And this was out actually in New Smyrna on 44. It was a trailer park. And they wanted to kind of spruce it up, change it up. And I got a lot of work in there. And that taught me a lot, especially working next to those hot cans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when the sun's beating down, those things warm up.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ouch.
So that was huge. That was good for me. And it truly, a lot of this has just been a learn as you go process for me. And for the business, I just figured a repaint sector would make sense because it's always needed. People are always wanting things changed, whether it's a room or the whole house. And also just branching out to different things like cabinets or teak work, woodwork, things like that need to be stained or oiled. And just not really sticking with just the walls.
Right. So you started kind of word of mouth. Like you started you literally were burning shoe leather, going door to door, knocking, trying to get some momentum going.
I absolutely love that.
I was thinking about this when we started this pod. Nick is really our audience. This is who we created the podcast for.
Yeah.
Is guys who are hustlers, entrepreneur spirits, who just want to go out and make a living and feed their family.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what we want. This is what we want to empower guys like you. I'm glad you're here because you're really a truly success story for someone who just wants to go hustle. Pandemic hit them and you had to just shuffle up and make ends meet.
Well, and the good news is, despite the fact you have college, the trades are in big demand. And we actually, you and I talked about this recently. And part of that is that people who own homes now either just don't want to work on them or don't have the skills. And I can remember you and I talked about our dads used to paint the house.
Yeah.
Our dads used to change the AC filters and wash the windows and whatever it was needed to be done at my house, my dad did it. But homeowners now often don't have the skill set to be able to do it. And they would much rather just make a phone call and write a check.
Yeah. It's either they don't have the skill set, they don't have the time or the desire.
Yeah.
And frankly, that's kind of our niche. Listen, a lot of people can do drywall. I mean, I talked to a guy, I do my own drywall. It's good. Awesome. But it takes them days or weeks sometimes to do what we can do in hours.
Yes.
And that's once you realize that, you know what, I'm not retired yet. I do want to enjoy my weekends. I don't want to spend my weekend, painting the accent wall in the nursery. Let me go hire someone that can do that for me.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable when you have low overhead like you. I mean, you have you don't have a storefront. You don't have lots of employees. You don't have big fancy, fleet of vehicles.
Right.
It's you. So we can come in and paint as a drywall company, but you're going to be more affordable in these smaller projects, these repaints. It's perfect, really.
Yeah.
Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole-in-the-Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthewallfranchising.com. So it's word of mouth, and then all of a sudden we catch wind. We actually had a need for you because we were doing work in a dentist office, so we couldn't paint. We could paint. We didn't want to paint.
We're just not efficient at it.
We aren't, and it was a weekend job, and we didn't do a lot of weekends with our crews because we worked them so hard Monday through Friday. So it was a great opportunity for us to see your skill set, and it's the dentist that I go to, so whenever I'm there, everyone always comments, how good the paint job.
The paint still looks great. I was there a couple of months ago. It looks, I'm like really happy with that job we did.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
Looks good.
Yeah. And so being able to partner with even companies like us that even though we do some of the same things you do, we just don't do what you do.
Yeah, we're not geared to do that.
Yeah. And I know there's been times when we actually tried to hire you, but you've just been so busy that you weren't able to even get to us. So
yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you guys reach out and
it's all right. We'll wear you down. Don't worry.
But
we're persistent.
I'll just clone myself. So.
Sure.
But every time that we talk to Nick and he is too busy to help, it just makes me smile because I go, I know this guy. I was this guy. And I love to see him succeeding. I love it that he's so busy that he can't come help us. I love that because it tells me he's succeeding.
Absolutely. I think it's fabulous. I mean, stay busy. It's fine.
Yeah, stay busy.
But we'll survive. But know that someday we'll need you. And then hopefully we can hook up and do some more work together.
Absolutely.
So.
Go ahead, Nick.
And I think I came in at a good time too, because that's when
so.
people were sitting around, looking at their homes, realizing how much dirt and grime and marks and all these things on the walls and baseboards. So that was a good opportunity. It was a time to execute that.
Yep. And with 2 or 3 years in the bank now, you've had time to sort of build your brand up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's just it. People are so overworked and so busy, and it's unfortunate, because people could, painting, it's pretty straightforward, and there's more to it than just slapping it on the walls.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that people kind of don't understand when it comes to professional painting. I had a client recently where she saw me wiping down the walls and degreasing and getting, and what are you doing? Why aren't you painting?
Yeah.
And
and I've always said, and James has heard me many times, there's a big difference between painting a room and putting a coat of paint on a room.
Right.
Yeah.
Painting involves what you're saying. You clean the walls, you're caulking, you're sanding things that are rough, you're repairing bits of the wall that.
Sure, you find those pinholes that you don't really see until you paint, and then they're going to complain anyway.
Right. And it just requires time and care.
Well, do you want it fast or do you want it good?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Or cheap. You can't pick two.
Yeah. Yeah, good and cheap and good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You should put that on your card.
I thought about it, but but no, and so the timing was good. It got me out of the insurance game. And what helps is just being who I am. It's not easy. It's not easy to have a newborn, your second child, a family to provide for. Your wife has been home with our first child for, 3 years at this time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And so that definitely is a big motivator. But at the same time, you kind of have to have it in you. Or if you don't, you have to figure out how to make it work.
Right.
Because it's so easy just to sit back. Oh, I'll take today off,
Yeah,
Because
well, you absolutely have to be self-motivated.
You have to be motivated.
Yeah.
And so, I focus so much on the quality side of things when it comes to customer service, when it comes to my application process. It's got to be everything. And people are paying a lot of money to have things done.
Yeah.
Even $500 is a lot of money to people.
Absolutely.
So I take big, small jobs the same. And, I take it with pride and focus on delivering the ultimate service that they can get. And so from that, I did receive a lot of repeat business in this short period of time.
Nice.
I am now people's painters.
Yeah.
And so it's a good feeling.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into the next question I have. What are you doing currently to keep your calendar full?
So for that, it's, just posting social media, letting people see my work. It's in the back of their head. And it's in the back of their head, knowing that, hey, Nick's a painter. It looks like he does great work. I'm going to keep him in mind. So there's that. But then also, the store that I go to, I'm pretty exclusive right now with Benjamin Moore. And so they're great with just handing out multiple cards so that people can get multiple bids.
Right.
And sometimes I'm in that stack. And so receiving calls from that helps. So the marketing is and just word of mouth.
Right.
Just referrals. So for the past 2 years, it has been referral based.
Right.
I've really done very little marketing, and I don't wrap my truck. I don't wrap my trailer, just because I do look for a specific client.
Right.
And
so once you go back and listen to some of our other podcasts, you'll hear some other ideas, and you're on the right track because it's really word of mouth, it's momentum, and it's building that trust. I actually wrote down trust while you were talking.
Yeah, it's your reputation.
Because even though it is a $500 job, the reality is people are trusting you to come in their home. They're entrusting you to do a job that they could probably do themselves, but they don't really want to, or that they have high expectations. And so that level of trust is earned, and it's not given freely. And so when you go in and do a good job, they will give you a good referral back. Another thing that we're doing a lot of with us is like we're on programs like Nextdoor. Are you on Nextdoor?
yeah, so people have posted about me on
Right.
Nextdoor.
There you go.
So you can get a free business account with Nextdoor, and then people can tag you that way. And then if there's certain communities you probably already in that have Facebook groups, they're great communities. Like we're in Conway community. I'm in St. Cloud and Kissimmee, and so I Hole in the Walls is in I don't know, probably 20 different community groups just to be there. So when our customers want to refer us, they can tag us and we get some good word of mouth.
Absolutely.
As well. And then obviously pushing social media. The good news is that you can do some good ads on social media without spending a ton of money.
Oh, it's true.
You got $50, $100 extra this month. You can absolutely put an ad out and like zero it in on a neighborhood or a demographic. It's so cool to do that. So, so you're on the right track as far as I'm concerned. And frankly, if it's just you and one or two guys, I mean, you don't have to do a ton of work to keep that plate spinning.
Right. And that's just it, because it is just me and my brother. And so he was finishing up school. He was going to become a firefighter. And in the meantime, I said, hey, work with me. Because I was by myself for a while.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for one person.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's juggling the quotes and checking it out and getting the supplies, going to the job, performing, getting it done, clean up afterwards.
Right.
Whether it's you're able to do it on site or off site. And so I said, hey, help me out. I'll pay you pretty good, hopefully. And I think he appreciates where I have him now. But it's one of those things where just the two of us is nice, because for me, again, it's not crazy where I have to keep 10 guys busy every day for, every week. And so that's a good feeling. But also when we are in people's homes, that is their home. That is their private space.
Absolutely.
And the trust thing is huge because, there are people that aren't there when we're painting.
Yep.
And
we have a lot of that as well.
And I know how I feel when people are in my home. And so I get it. And I think we have an advantage there, because we respect their things. We prep properly. We cover up with the proper paper and in the proper areas and making sure, our shoes are off if needed or whatever the case may be.
So moving forward, kind of looking into your crystal ball, what are your hopes and dreams for Stoey Painting? Do you just kind of hope to keep it with you and your brother, or do you have other aspirations?
I do. I do want to grow it a little bit at some point. I do want to be patient with it. I want to perfect the art first. And then when I do come across somebody that I feel could perform, close to what I expect or right there, then I'll be willing to say, hey, let's run, let's do this. And do you want to work with us? And so it's hard to come by those guys.
Yes, it is.
It's very hard.
As you guys know.
Yes.
You have to have trust for them as well. You're entrusting them with your reputation, with your brand that you're working hard to build. So it's a big step.
That's a tough step for an entrepreneur.
That's probably one of the biggest challenges for a solopreneur like you is to make that leap where, and we were, before you even turned on the recorder, this is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, to make that leap from, all right, I'm going to put my hands on every job to I'm not going to, but I've got to make sure that the quality is there. My reputation is not on the line. That's a hard step to take, but you'll get there. I think that's absolutely.
I absolutely think it's exactly where you're headed.
I think it's a requirement for you and your sanity, because you can do this. You can do this for 10 years, but you're still a young guy. But the reality is you are not going to want to be on a ladder every day for 10 years. And you're going to want to take a vacation. I put down challenges as one of my notes is because we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend. You want to take Monday off? Great. You can take Monday off. You own your own business.
Right.
You getting paid Monday?
You're not getting paid.
That's why I'm probably working Monday.
Right? You got 4th of July coming up. And then all of a sudden, well, I want to have a hot dog with my kids in the backyard.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you can do that.
Yeah. But
you're not getting paid. It took us years before we got to a point where we could actually offer holiday pay for our employees.
Paid holidays.
But boy, that's a challenge. And you get employees, they have to have the same drive that it's okay, I'm going to take today off. I'm going to take the day after Thanksgiving off. Yeah. We actually had a big discussion one year. It's like, well, do we work the day after Thanksgiving? It's not really a holiday, but it is a holiday. And these guys, well, if they're not getting paid, they want to work.
They want to work.
Right? As an owner, you may not want to, but you need to make that money.
You have to, and that's how I view it. Like I'm clocking in. It's like a 9 to 5. Really, 8 is generally my start time. I sometimes can start earlier, finish up around 4 or 5. Sometimes it's later. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier. But I do treat it like I'm punching in and out. And you have to, because it's easy to just get comfortable and take breaks and take days off. And, brother's like, hey, can I go surf? And the swell's up.
Yeah.
And, it's like, hey, man, we got to work.
Well, having a wife at home and small children will keep you on the straight and narrow.
And that's for sure.
I had 4 little ones at home, though. and I stayed motivated. I didn't find it a problem to get out of the house and go provide.
Yeah. It's nice though, but you still, even though you do clock out, so you're not painting, but you're still working on social media posts.
Yeah.
You're still reviewing
Right.
estimates and futures, maybe sending an invoice here or there, maybe paying a bill to Benjamin Moore, or your credit card statement, or gotta get an oil change in my vehicle because you don't keep your vehicles running, you can't work,
Mm-hmm.
So the job of an entrepreneur really is never done. So you can clock out,
Right.
Yes.
but you need to clock out.
Yeah.
You have to have that personal space, but those kids do need a dad to run around
Yeah.
and chase.
And you touched on something right there. So I wonder, how are you managing your home life, personal life versus work life? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs wind up working 70, 80 hours a week, and then the family is just ignored, in the interest of providing for them. Their intentions are good, but how do you find that a struggle at all?
That's something that I think about a lot because I could expand and grow Stoey fairly easily. I could find some guys that can paint, train them up, but and do the 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and just work yourself to the bone. I could do that. I could do 7 days a week. If I was a single guy, I would just be nonstop. But that work-life balance is super important to me. My girls, these are crucial years. And I know families that had parents that just worked nonstop.
Yes.
And they missed out on so much.
Yeah.
And it was to provide, to give them a good life. But to me, time spent is more important than finance, financial gain.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very conscious of it. I don't work weekends. I try to get back for dinner, help with baths and books, and then hang out as much as I can in the mornings if possible. Sometimes I do have to leave before they wake up. But that is something that I told myself that I'm willing to sacrifice, a couple extra bucks in order to spend it, more time with my kids and my wife.
Good for you.
So
Yeah. Great attitude. Wow.
Absolutely.
Nick, thanks so much for coming and being on. Man, you got a great story.
Absolutely. I love the story, and I love that we've had a chance to stay connected through these years, and even through the pandemic, being able to kind of see you grow and work. So listen, tell our audience how they can get hold of you. If they want to call you up to come do a paint job, how can they get hold of Stoey Painting?
Yeah, so no website at the moment, but we do have social media on Facebook and Instagram. And then, always reach out to me by phone as well. My number's listed on those sites.
Okay.
And just give me a call or text, shoot me an email. I'll respond back and come on over and take a look at the job.
Cool. And I'll post all those on the show notes. So when people find us on Facebook or find us on Spotify, wherever they are, they'll have all your social media stuff as well. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Great job. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate
All right.
it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.